So welcome everyone. I know there are some people that are going to be slow to get on and join this event today, but we are excited here at the Alumni Association to have our first ever virtual event. Our Spartans Share Series will be a 4-part series every Wednesday this month from 12:30 to 1:30. We have an exciting lineup for different audiences, from everything from being a first-time home buyer to traditions for the Women's College and UNCG in light of the 125th anniversary we have coming up this year. And of course, today we are exploring living and working abroad, the expat experience. And we have two wonderful alumni here to tell us about their experiences abroad. We have Joette McLaurin, who is a 2004 graduate of UNCG, who currently works for Northrop Grumman. She is part of the company's, or she was part of the company's professional development program for new graduates. Since the successful completion of that program, she's held various roles in increasing levels of responsibility within the HR function. In 2012, Joette served as an HR business partner for the International Infrastructure Business Area and manager for strategic initiatives, where she supported a multi-year strategy development that led domestic and international implementation and process improvement of the organization's largest people initiative. She lived abroad in London, England, for a little while. And she'll be able to share a little bit of that experience with us today. And we also have a 2002 graduate of UNCG, Jacqueline Goss, who's an international educator who is currently living abroad in UAE and Abu Dhabi. And Jacqueline is a 2002 graduate of UNCG with a communications degree, also a master's degree from Kennesaw State University. She has over 14 years of experience in education. Taught grades 2 and 4 for 9 academic years in Atlanta, Georgia, before going over to the UAE. So we're going to start with Jackie sharing a little bit of her experience while living abroad. Jackie, going to turn it over to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Goss. I initially wanted to work abroad to just get the international experience. Loved the career of educating and wanted to provide that to another nation. So I decided to work in the Emirates, applied for the position with a private school here, and have been at the same school for 5 academic years. It's been a lovely experience. Throughout my tenure here, I've been able to travel to other countries because being located in the UAE, it's so close to different parts of Asia and Africa and so many other places that would be a little too expensive to travel to from the Americas. So throughout the slideshow, you'll kind of see some of the places I've been, but my love is to teaching children, and I can say now in different parts of the world. Is that it? Did you want me to share anything else?
Talk a little bit about your access to travel and some of the places that you've been and kind of the experience leading up to transitioning from the U.S. to the UAE.
Okay, so transitioning was a challenge. It's something I had never done before. So I own a home in Atlanta, Georgia. So I wanted to find a tenant, rent that out. I've had great experiences with tenants there. And just leaving your family, coming alone, and my initial contract was for 3 years. So I was committed to doing the 3 years prior to coming. So the transition, was difficult, and you cry because it is the unknown. But you have support from your family. And one thing that has been a blessing to me being here is this community is none like I've seen before. I have a sincere admiration for Emirati people, their culture and their community. And they're very supportive, very loving individuals. Some of my best friends here at Emirati. I don't want to miss or discount the fact that teaching abroad, you meet so many people from other parts of the world. I have great friends that I've worked with who are from South Africa, New Zealand, Canada, Europe, colleagues from India and the Philippines, and just you're getting a true abroad experience, but I'm also meeting people who I believe who will be lifelong friends or colleagues that I really admire and love. So even places that I travel to, like I try to travel to places where my colleagues are from so that they can tell me about them. Or like at the end of this academic year, I'll go to South Africa to visit a friend of mine who used to work here. So that to me has just been a great experience. And as well as traveling abroad and just opening your mind. It's said so easily and kind of in a cliche way, but it definitely does open you up to meeting people and people seeing you, knowing that you're American, and also, if I may say, seeing a Black American traveling abroad has been, in my experience, they think I'm a superstar. I'm like, hello, but they want to take pictures, especially in places that they don't get a lot of travelers coming from the Americas or even from people who are traveling at that certain time of year. So the experience has been great. If there's anything that I'm leaving out, Crystal, that you want me to add in, teaching here, because it's a new initiative, it's a reform model here in the Emirates where the government, so to speak, they're trying to ensure that their citizens and their children in their future are not only bilingual but biliterate, being able to learn and to function and to understand science and math and social studies and English as a second language. So having that here and the families really trusting you as an educator to provide a solid foundation of education to their children and their future, to me, is a gift that I take very seriously. And I enjoy working with the children. I had amazing experiences working in the States. My undergraduate degree, as you stated, is not in education. I was Teach for America. And during my tenure in Teach for America, TFA, I fell in love with teaching and decided to pursue it as my lifelong career currently. And it's a job that I would do if I couldn't get paid for it. But I need to get paid for what I do so that I can travel, so that I can share these experiences with my family, with my parents and my siblings and my nieces and nephews, allowing them to see me in India and just to name a few of the places I've been. I've been to India, Bali, Sri Lanka, South Korea, and here in the GCC area, I've been to Egypt, to Bahrain, to Qatar, because you can travel to those places kind of on a weekend. With our working here in the Emirates in an Islamic country, we get Muslim holidays off. So it provides opportunities to travel to other locations frequently throughout the year. And so my friends and I, or sometimes I travel alone, get to travel and see so many places. I'm here if you have any other things you want me to converse about. I can go on and on, but I definitely want to honor the time and what you're asking of me.
Yes, well, that's been great, and thanks for sharing what you've shared thus far. One thing I'd like to ask, and I'll ask this of Joette as well, can you share with some of our attendees what your experience was like here at UNCG and how that helped you with where you're currently at?
Okay. If I can just have a second to think about that.
Okay. Okay.
I had a lovely experience. That was a quick think, but I had a lovely experience at UNCG. I met people from different places as well. Like I had a really good friend that I met when we came in. It was called Step Ahead. I don't know what it's called now. I think, what is it called when the new freshmen come in? What is
So
it called?
was it SOAR?
SOAR. I think it was called SOAR after, but in '98 it was called Step Ahead. So I met just people from all over in Step Ahead. One of my best friends who ended up being my roommate is I met at Step Ahead. A lot of my friends I met during that time, but just one thing I've learned from that experience and coming here, for me specifically, was it kind of did feel like an undergraduate experience where you're coming in. For my school, we started the school the year that I came in. So it was kind of like everyone was new. Everyone, and it was like that kind of freshman experience. Everyone's new. Everyone is kind of in the same boat. So they want to be successful together. And so in undergrad, I was able to develop a family of friends who I converse with even now, who I hope they're on this page checking us out. But same similar kind of concept coming here to the Emirates. I have a family of people that I love who came in with me, who we started on the journey together. And that's the similarity that I can share from undergrad. I even had that same kind of feeling when I joined Teach for America, because again, it's something that everyone's doing together. No one in my TFA core was in another core before. We came in together. And so that transition again to working here at the Emirates and being a part of the inaugural year at Glen Elk School, which is now called Adnock School. So I hope that gives some kind of insight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, here in just a few, we'll open it up for more questions from the attendees and viewers. Joette, I guess we will turn it over to you and let you share a little bit of your story and your experience living abroad and the work that you do.
Excellent. Well, hi. So Joette McLaurin, as Crystal mentioned earlier, I was a triple major at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro undergrad, with my first major being International Studies, Global Affairs, and International Development. Equally, I had the opportunity to have 2 studies abroad. So speaking to your question, Crystal, around how did UNCG help prepare me for that, I really do believe the International Studies program, in addition to my 2 international experiences, really equipped me in terms of understanding what it takes to live and work abroad. My first international experience was in Spain for the summer, and followed by Mexico for a semester abroad. So let me tell you a little bit about my journey. I have been working for Northrop Grumman for the last 11 years, and I've had various opportunities, some of which Crystal mentioned to you earlier. The wonderful thing is that here they really do believe in rotating talent. So I had the opportunity to apply for an international assignment that was based in London, but that supported the Middle East as well as additional global remits, including Australia. So the wonderful thing about my assignment is that it gave me really the most challenging opportunity that I've experienced in my life. My time abroad was perhaps the best of my life, and it was really filled with what I call fun and focus. What I missed most, though, in full transparency, were my friends, my community, and my family. Working abroad in London, I didn't have necessarily the community that I have domestically here. I was really the only person who was on international assignment in the office, and I had the responsibility of helping us stand up our international locations for our corporation, which was a really tremendous opportunity. It allowed me to not only see other countries, but really understand local laws, and process in those countries, which was, again, challenging but awesome work. Equally, as Jackie mentioned, living abroad, particularly in London, it really is what I call the back door to the world. So there are so many opportunities for you to travel. There is a slideshow presentation that I'm going to have Crystal just step through, but one of the sayings that I say is that, you know, I haven't been everywhere, but it's on my list. So wanted to share with you some of the opportunities that living abroad has given me. I worked in Australia, New Zealand, skydived, bridge and sea, climbed a glacier, walked proudly in an abaya, explored Kremlin in Russia, slept on top of the Ngorongoro crater in Tanzania, climbed the Great Wall of China, seen the Northern Lights, swam the Great Barrier Reef, drank champagne, and the list goes on and on and on. But the reality is that I believe that you should get intentionally lost in that foundation of family focus and fun. So with respect to my experience, I would really encourage individuals who have an opportunity to live and work abroad to do that. It really was some of the most enriching experiences that I've ever had in my life. It's challenging. I will share with you in full transparency. I think people often think about international assignments as being sexy, but they forget that there is an ugly side to things. You can just rotate, Crystal.
Okay.
And so I want to share of the downside of an international assignment, because I'm not sure that that's always spoken about. The reality is that when you are abroad, sometimes you don't have that community, and you have to work very, very hard to build that. And as you are older in your career, it becomes a bit more challenging, because typically they send you abroad because you're a subject matter expert in a particular field, which then causes you to spend more hours in the office or working longer hours, which provides less opportunity for the networking format. So it is difficult to establish a community, particularly if you're a single person out on your own. But it can be done, and I'm a testament of that. I've built some really wonderful friends in London.
Looks like we're having a little bit of a connection issue with you, Joette.
The other down. Okay. Well, can you let me know, or?
Oh, sounds better now.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries.
For my alum, I'm actually in the office, which is probably due to causing some of the connection issues. So really, I believe that I took that leap of faith in terms of establishing those connections with folks. But the other downside is that you miss a lot of the domestic events. So whether they're weddings or birthdays or milestones, babies being born, you miss some of that. But what I will share with you is that I believe a lot of your friendship and family connection relationships truly strengthen in your time abroad, because you spend focused time with those individuals when you're present with them, and equally there's more effort that's put into the relationship. So Jackie and myself, there's a significant time difference in terms of the U.S. versus where we were based, and you have to be intentional about those relationships. So just wanted to share the amazing opportunities that living abroad gives you, as well as some of the challenges, all of which I believe could be overcome with hard work. So that's my story. Any questions?
So for those of you who are tuning in, if you have questions, if you are tuning in via the Google Hangout link, there is a Q&A app. If you type your questions, they will pop up for us to be able to select them and answer them. If you are tuning in via YouTube, if you type a comment in the comment section of YouTube, the YouTube stream, we'll be able to answer your questions from there. So another question that I have for both of you, given some of your undergrad, going back to tying it back to UNCG and your undergraduate experiences, I know both of you personally, and I kind of live vicariously through you through some of your travels, but there's a significant tie to some of your experiences in your younger years that have helped you with your connections abroad, specifically like your sorority. So talk a little bit about how that may have helped your transition, knowing that you have that network. So talk a little bit about networking and how that's made you successful and how that helped your living abroad.
So I think Jackie probably has a better story here. So for me, my sorority really did not help in London. There wasn't a local chapter or community.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have much to speak to from that aspect, but I know having visited Jackie, she definitely has a estimate of that.
Okay.
There's a question. Do you want us to table and answer the question, or would you like for me to answer your question?
We can come back to that. We do have a question from one of our viewers. If you are someone that wants to live and work abroad, what is the best way to begin that process?
I would, from my experience, because I'm an educator, I'll speak from that. If you are an educator, there are numerous education, if I can say, educator placement agencies that you can look into. Definitely research the location you want to come, but a few of them are teachaway.com. Another one is teachanywhere.com. Another one I'm familiar with is searchassociates.com, and I believe Search Associates may have an array of other careers that you can look into outside of education. So I think it's about researching. Connect with people who may be in your field or in what you want to do via social media. Reach out to UNCG Alumni Association, and they may have a database of people that you can reach out to, that you can connect to. I am willing to help or support anyone who may be in education and who are looking to come not only to the Emirates but in other places as well. So I think the onus is on the person who wants the experience to research it, to go out and ask, to use forums like social media. We have a great UNCG Alumni Association that has provided this live streaming. So if you're tuning in and you want more information, definitely reach out to Ms. Josie or anyone in the UNCG Alumni Association, and they'll be sure to get with you. I don't know if there is some type of follow-up that you will have, Crystal, with anyone or any kind of posting that you will do, but I could share those links in a future posting that I may be familiar with from my side.
Absolutely. There will be follow-up. We will provide some resources, including what you've shared with us today, to those who are interested. Looks like we have another question, unless you wanted to provide a little bit of insight as well, Joette.
So I think I can provide insight from a different lens. So not being an educator and being part of the human resource team who is responsible for international assignments and placements globally, one of the things that I would recommend beyond, searching those websites that offer job and career opportunities is really leveraging your existing company. As Jackie has said, for me, it was around positioning myself, whether it be through my education or experiences, so that I would be eligible to apply for the international roles. One important factor that you'll need to consider when you're applying online for international roles is the fact that many countries require visas for extended stay. And those visas are quite costly and require sponsorship. So it's not just as easy as going to a country and working there. You'll need to identify a company that is willing to sponsor you for those visas. Oftentimes, a lot of the international assignments that you're seeing on Websites like Indeed, etc., don't necessarily provide you with a sponsorship for your visa when they're talking about an assignment in, say, Saudi Arabia. So that'll be an important thing for you to look for when you're looking at those online jobs, that visas are a part of that process. If not, the expectation would be that you would acquire that visa, which could be quite complex and difficult. As a side note, I do want to mention that the visa process is something that does take time and commitment in terms of getting through. So just an important component to note if an international assignment is something that you're interested in pursuing.
Okay, we have another question. Your thoughts on the best place to live outside the U.S.? And that's from Martin Jolly.
That's a great question. Jackie, did you want to go?
I'll go if you don't. If you're wanting to share, my bias is the United Arab Emirates because that's where I live now. So I'll speak on that. The United Arab Emirates, it's definitely for me, it's been very comfortable. There are a lot of culture here as far as Emirati culture and the Middle Eastern culture. However, they've done a really amazing job at providing creature comforts with malls that have food that we eat and love, and a lot of U.S., so to say, or Western restaurants and activities that you can do here, and the weather is lovely. But so I can only necessarily speak on that. Other places I've traveled to that I would possibly consider living in, offhand, been to some amazing places, but not necessarily feel like, oh, I can live here for an extended amount of time. I totally enjoyed London when I was there, and I actually got to see Joette while being there. And again, it was definitely comfortable for me because the national language is English. And so that's all I have to say on that point.
So I think how I would address that question is saying it truly depends. So I think when you're interested in going on an international assignment, you need to do some self-reflection and identify not only what would work for you, but if you were married and have children, what would work for your family and your spouse. So I spent a great deal of time in Saudi Arabia, for example. That may not, if you're a male and you have a wife, that may not work for you in your particular situation. But personally, I absolutely loved and enjoyed living in Saudi Arabia and would do it again tomorrow or today if they called. So in terms of what works best for you, I would really, when you're trying to identify a country, think not only about the work that's there and the language barriers, but really reflect on the culture, and if that culture norms to you and your family's needs. That would be my challenge to you.
All right, we have another question. After working abroad, do you think you would like to move to another country for work, or do you want to bring your experiences back to the U.S.? So I know, Joette, you're already back in the U.S., but I think both will be able to provide a little bit of.
Sure. I can take that. So I've been back in the U.S. This month makes 1 year. And if they called me right now and said we have an international assignment in pretty much you name the place, I would go with the clothes on my back and not look back nor think twice. I absolutely, my mother tells me I'm a gypsy. I believe I'm a person of this world. And the thing that I love most in life is learning about other cultures. And being abroad really gave me the opportunity to do that, not only in the country that I was in, but because of the proximity to other countries as well. I am not a fool to think that there wouldn't be some challenges and struggles with that, because I've lived the experience and know that sometimes it can be quite difficult, but I would absolutely do it in a heartbeat. I think you learn so much about yourself when you are on those assignments.
Awesome. Jackie, do you have anything to add?
I think I would definitely want to move back to the States first prior to an option to move somewhere else. having been living abroad consistently for 5 years, I do miss my family. I do, as I think Joette mentioned earlier, you miss some of the milestones in family life and living in the States that, I mean, it's too far for me to get to very quickly on weekends and stuff. So it's not that I wouldn't move anywhere else. I think I would want to move back to the States to, you know, develop some things that I have some goals there as well, develop some things there and maybe transition to another country if it meets the needs of my family, my personal desires, but I just would currently want to move back before moving somewhere else. But I do have friends who are from the States who move to different places, who may not even be in education, but they've been here in the Emirates and then they've moved to somewhere else and moved to somewhere else where they are like internationally working, living, and loving it. But personally, I would want to move back, having spent such a long tenure here prior to deciding to move somewhere else.
Okay. We have another question. Knowing what you know now, what would you do differently in your travels?
In my travels, so I have a personal goal to see one new country for every year that I was alive. I started that when I was 18. I think if I had to do it again, I would just spend more of my time and resources getting out there and doing it as much as I could. My one regret in life is that I actually didn't take time out of college or just off of college to teach English somewhere. I think that would have been an amazing experience. So if I had something to do different with respect to my travels, it would be just to do more. If I had to do something different with respect to my international assignment, what I would say is I probably would have spent more time talking with people who had lived abroad so that I really understood not only the pros to living abroad, but also the cons. Because I think I was so excited about the opportunity that I never considered the full scope. That's what I would say.
Awesome. Thank you.
Would you ask the question again? I can't see it.
Okay. So knowing what you know now, what would you do differently in your travels?
What would I do differently? I mean, if we were to go back to like this slideshow and the photographs that I had, like I took those experiences with me. I have them captured on film. And initially, like I think when I was in India, someone had given me a gift of a Polaroid, one of my friends, prior to me going to India. And I took cameras with my photos, excuse me, I took photographs with my personal camera, but I also took pictures with the Polaroid, and I was able to gift that to the people who were asking me for photos, to children, to different things like that. So differently in what I need to start doing more now when I travel and when I pack is to bring my Polaroid, because it's an experience that I am having, that I am capturing, and I think the people whom I'm taking photos with or who want photos with me, I think alike, they would maybe want to share that as well. So it's more of like a giving kind of thing. And if the person is asking, I would recommend in things that I have done. I'm not able to do that everywhere. But if you can take a cooking class, if you can visit a local home of people who are from that area, not necessarily on your tour or part of your resort, but part of like the real live people you can touch and converse with, even if it's not the same language, but you can have a window into their world and see that the similarities that we have as a human nation. That's the one thing that I definitely would do differently, or I try to do now, is if I can take a cooking class and if I can visit a local home or sit at a coffee shop with local people, talk to the people who want to talk to you. Learn a little bit how to greet in that language, if you can. It means the world to people all over if you can do those kind of things.
Awesome, thank you. We have a couple more questions. We have one from Mark. What would you say has been the biggest culture shock you experienced when living and working abroad?
Jackie, who did you want to go first?
The biggest culture shock, and I'm asked that question a lot, and what I've experienced, unfortunately, it's in the Emirates, has been at times in shops on the customer service phone call, in my opinion, someone's inability to problem solve. Here in the Emirates, there are a lot of the service industry is being are not the local people, and so it's people from other nations who may not have been given authority to make decisions. So you can have a simple issue, so to say, and unable to resolve it in a store in which you're like, well, if I could get the register, I can do the 20% off, or I can. That's just been my biggest thing. Sometimes it can be frustrating, and more of a culture shock that you don't, even though you work for maybe said shop or company, that you don't really have any power as an employee to make decisions to meet the needs of the customers. That's been a culture shock and just a little alarming, being a consumer here in the Emirates, so to say. Yeah.
So how I would address that, I mean, I get a lot of questions from people, particularly women, saying, how did you work in Saudi Arabia as a woman traveling by yourself to multiple places in Saudi? How did you feel? To be honest, I absolutely loved the experience, and I think people are expecting me to have more cultural concerns or shock there, and in fairness, it just wasn't my experience. What I would say my biggest culture shock is actually has nothing to do with the country that I'm in, but how I've seen Americans operate in countries that I'm traveling to. Sometimes has been a little disappointing. So I've not been the one to have the experience in France where the French don't speak to me or are rude. I've never had that experience, so I can't speak to that. I can appreciate that depending on the country that you go to, if it's considered a developing nation, there may not be toilet facilities. But that to me isn't culture shock because you have to take into consideration the country in which you're traveling. But the thing that is shocking to me from a cultural standpoint is sometimes how we, and I'll include myself in this, respond to those conditions. And I think that we need to be increasingly mindful of the opportunities that we have here, being a Western nation, and respond with love when we see conditions that appear to be different than our own, because how we respond to others will be significant.
Yeah.
Okay. We have another question. Really enjoying this series, ladies. I have a question on short-term visits and/or experiences. I am interested in starting my travels with anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 month stays. What suggestions do you have?
I would like to first say, hello, Vadashantalis. I know this person who is asking this question. Come and visit me. Come. You are welcome to come and visit me. But I will suggest there are those secret flying websites, Groupon. If you want to travel affordably on a budget, definitely research as far as what's available. But secret flying, it's a website that you can sign up and they'll send you like weekly, if not daily, discounts from places from the States to travel to an array of countries at different times of the year. They're kind of like discounts. Again, contact the Alumni Association and see who is abroad and who will allow you to come and visit them. I've had a lot of visitors, of friends who are on their way to travel somewhere else, may want to stop. Joette visited me while she was here working. Friends from university. I've got a friend from UNCG who she's coming next month. But definitely people will ask if they know people are living abroad. They'll come and ask you to come and visit them. But definitely look into some of the discount travel options that there are, because there's so many out there that I've traveled a lot of places via Groupon.
So I think, thank you, Jackie. I think how I would respond to that question is to really dig deep within yourself and to follow your passion and your passion areas. I believe that sometimes countries and places speak to you, and I don't mean to sound all, crazy, but what I mean is if you love coffee, consider going to Guatemala and experiencing a coffee roasting course. Or if you love cooking, try going to Italy and going to cooking school there. If you love wine, consider France. If you're into wine and champagne, try that. If you're really into structures, or if you're really into experiences that are adventure-based, consider New Zealand. So I would really follow what your passions are naturally and allow those natural passions to help you determine which countries you're going to. Also, there's lists out there that are like the top 50 countries you should see before you die, or cities you should see before you die. I really believe in having a look at some of those lists, because there may be a country on there that you've never considered that can be life-changing for you. And I've definitely personally had that experience. Like maybe Russia, for example, wasn't necessarily on my list, but it was amazing and life-changing, and I came across that on the 50 countries you should see before you die. So check that out as a starting place, and I would highly recommend following your passion areas.
All right. Doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in. I know it's about 15 minutes before our scheduled end time, but I would personally like to extend my thanks to both of you ladies for taking time out of your schedule. I know it's after 8 o'clock, almost 9 o'clock maybe there where you are, Jackie. Is that right?
Yeah, it's 9:14.
9:14, okay. Okay, and Joette, again, you're at the office. So thank you so much, ladies, for taking time out of your day to share your experiences with us and your willingness to be a resource to other alumni and even students who may be tuning in. We did share the stream information with the International Program Center. So again, we appreciate you. If there are any questions after we conclude today, feel free to email me. I am the Assistant Director of Alumni Engagement here at UNCG. My email address is cgjosey@uncg.edu. And again, thanks, and you all have a wonderful rest of the day.
There is one question that just came in. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes, Mark. Or wait, let me see. Yes, Mark. If you're looking for short-term experiences abroad, what are your suggestions regarding lodging?
So I can take that. I think Jackie has recommended, some deal websites, and I absolutely, I co-sign that. I think there's lots of great deals to be out there. I'm trying to remember the name of the site that I used. Jackie, do you remember? I go and I'll try to remember right now. But essentially, it's called Airbnb. Yes, Airbnb. So what I do is I stay in a lot of people's homes. So I will go online to a country that I'm interested in seeing, and I will rent a room in somebody's home. It's the most affordable way to stay in the most convenient locations. And people are what I would say like-minded travelers. They're people who are open to international folks being in their homes and willing to share. I've done Airbnb in a number of countries. I've rented homes, I've rented rooms, I've rented full-out apartments, and have absolutely had the most amazing experience with that. So would highly recommend that for inexpensive short-term stays that really give you that local experience.
And I've had friends who have done, I think it's called couch surfing, which may be similar to Airbnb, where people literally allow you to come and stay on their couch or in their spare bedroom. So that's another one. I haven't done any of those. However, I have friends who like swear by them, couch surfing and Airbnb.
Awesome.
And then the other thing that I just thought of, particularly in Europe, where are hostels. And I know that sounds like a dirty word, but actually some hostels can be really quite amazing. And there are hostel networks online that you can look up in advance of going. I've had amazing hostel experiences, for example, in Germany. So if you're looking for affordable short-term locations, that may be an option for you as well.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies. So I guess that concludes.
Well, Chris,
oh, yes.
Oh, Crystal, I just, and I'll say this, I think it's on behalf of Jackie and I, but really thank you so much for inviting us and allowing us an opportunity and a forum to share our story. I hope that maybe just a few of our words have touched folks and that they really do consider the experience. So kudos to you for all of the support and patience you've demonstrated with either helping us with the technology or being positioned to share our story. So thank you very much. Kudos to you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you.
For those of you who are watching, feel free to share the YouTube channel with friends. This is a recorded session, and so folks will be able to watch the session in its entirety, and you can even skip through to questions that you are particularly interested in as well. So thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.